Hi, I'm ReveloGM and we are back with another video about Vox Machina. This time we're taking a look at another level up, but it's going to be much faster this time around, I promise. We're leveling up the whole party in one go to level 10, seeing what they've been up to in the campaign, what they get in 5e, and what they would get instead if we were to make them in Pathfinder. At least, if I was making them anyway. As always, if you just want the Pathfinder stuff, there'll be a time on screen somewhere, you can click on that and that'll take you to the Pathfinder bits and skip all the rest of it. Alright, short and sweet, let's go. Most of the party get this level up at episode 9, but some get it earlier, interestingly all the women, who get theirs on 6, 7 and episode 8. Episode 9 is Yug'Varil Uncovered. I think it's Yug'Varil anyway, where the party fights the Duergar Queen, and they finally manage to talk to Kavan through her, so sort of talk to Kavan, I suppose. It is properly talking to him though, before using a boat to cross some water towards the ancient city of Yug'Varil, where Kavan awaits. Back at this point, Matt was doing XP on a marker thing, and that determines how many XP people gain. It's like a tally system, as well as XP from combats and stuff like that, so people were leveling up at different rates. He talks about it in one of the early videos in the Q&As that they did on early Vox Machina. It's an interesting system. I don't know if they still do it, or if they discontinued it at some point. I've not checked that far ahead, but that's why the leveling up is a bit all over the place in this early stuff. So, what did everyone get at level 10? We'll start with Grog, as well we'll need to talk a little bit extra about him because of his Jotunbornness now. As of level 10 though, Grog has 116 hit points and gains Intimidating Presence. Beginning at level 10, you can use your action to frighten someone with your menacing presence. When you do so, choose one creature that you can see within 30 feet of you. If the creature can see or hear you, it must succeed on a Wisdom save, DC 8, plus proficiency bonus, plus charisma modifier, or be frightened of you until the end of its next turn. And on subsequent turns, you can use your action to extend the duration of this effect of the frightening condition until the end of your next turn. This effect ends if the creature ends its turn out of line of sight with you or is more than 60 feet away. If the creature succeeds on its save, you can't use this feature on that creature again for 24 hours. It's pretty cool. Obviously in Pathfinder you don't need a 10th level feat to be able to intimidate someone, but it's still pretty neat. Grog doesn't have a high charisma in 5e, so it's not going to be super effective, and then to maintain it you've got to use your hold action as well. That's pretty tough, but frightened is quite a powerful condition in 5e, so it kind of balances out a little. But we've been building our Pathfinder Grog to be much better at intimidation, so he'll have a much more effective element of this field when we get to him later. But it's a cool one. Frightening and being raging and stuff is fun and makes a lot of sense for Barbarian. It does just feel a bit odd that it's tied to charisma. Logically it makes sense because it is to do with your social skills and stuff, but Barbarians being all about rage and strength feels like maybe it should have been tied to strength instead. But that's just me. Next up, Keyleth. She now has 71 hit points, Elemental Form, and another 5th level spell slot. Elemental Form is a wild shape thing. At 10th level you can expend 2 uses of wild shape at the same time to transform into an air, earth, fire or water elemental. We will see this quite a lot, especially a couple of the forms, and we already have a spell for this in Pathfinder, so we've now got the equivalent here. Keyleth has a long list of spells, it's hard to say which she's memorised at this time, but she has another slot. Okay, Percy, 81 hit points, Dex is now 22 from the Manual of Quickness, so keep that in mind, and he gets Trick Shot. I think they were still workshopping this stuff at the time, we're still very early on with the Gunslinger for 5e, so we'll go with what we ended up with for Trick Shot. You can expend a grit point to use one of the following shots. Bullying Shot. You can use the powerful blast and thundering sound of your firearm to shake the resolve of a creature. You expend 1 grit point while making a charisma intimidation check to gain advantage on the roll. Dazing Shot. When you make a firearm attack against the creature, you can expend a grit point to attempt to dizzy them. On a hit, the creature suffers normal damage but must make a con save or suffer disadvantage until the end of their next turn. Deadeye Shot. When you make a firearm attack against a creature, you expend 1 grit point to gain advantage. Disarming. You make a firearm attack against a creature, expend 1 grit point to attempt to shoot the object from their hands. On a hit, they suffer normal damage when it succeeds on a strength save, or drop 1 object of your choice and have that object pushed 10 feet away from them. That's pretty powerful. Forceful Shot. Firearm Shot, expend a grit point to attempt to trip them. On a hit, they suffer normal damage and must succeed again on a strength save or be pushed 15 feet away. It doesn't actually knock them prone, though, according to that description. Piercing Shot. When you make a firearm attack against a creature, you can expend 1 grit point to attempt to fire through multiple opponents. The initial attack gains a +1 to the misfire score, but on a hit, the creature suffers normal damage and you can make an attack roll with a disadvantage against every creature in a line between the target within your first range increment. And only the initial attack can misfire, which makes sense. Violent Shot, when you make a firearm attack against a creature, you can expend 1 or more grip points to enhance the volatility of the attack. For each grip point expended, it gains +2 to the fire miss score, but if it hits, you can roll 1 additional weapon die per grip point spent. That's a very powerful one, but high risk reward. And Winging Shot. When you make a firearm attack against a creature, you can spend all grip points to topple a moving target. On hit, this level normal damage, but must make a strength save or be knocked prone. It's interesting that we have forceful shots saying trip them up, but I guess it means make them like stumble, not actually knock them over. So lots of very cool abilities there to use firearms in a lot more kind of status bonusy sort of ways. We're interesting to see how different that is in Pathfinder, because that is where the Gunslinger stuff originally comes from. Pike, 73 hit points, Divine Intervention, and another 5th level spell slot as well. Divine Intervention, beginning at 10th level, you can call on your deity to intervene on your behalf when your need is great. Imploring your deity's aid requires you to use your action. You describe the assistance you ask for and you roll a percentile dice. That's your D percentile and your D10 together. If you roll a number equal to or lower than your cleric level, so 10 presently, your deity intervenes. The DM chooses the nature of the intervention. The effect of any cleric spell or cleric domain would be appropriate. And if your deity does intervene, you can't use it again for 7 days, otherwise you can use it after you finish a long rest. And once you reach 20th level, your call for intervention succeeds automatically, no roll required. So it's a fun one. It's a very cool ability, and it will come into play at least once or twice in this campaign. It's a powerful feature, and not one I think we really have a direct parallel for in Pathfinder. On to Scanlan, he now has 59 hit points. Ooh, that's not a lot. Expertise in performance and investigation apparently, a D10 Bardic Inspiration die, and Big B's Hand, and Banishment from Magical Secrets, and a 5th level spell slot. And the twins, Vax has 66 hit points, and should have done an ASI, but there's no information about this on crit roll stats, nor on the level 10 sheet. So who knows? And Vex, 72 hit points, a new favourite terrain, mountains, and hide in plain sight. Starting at 10th level, you get the idea, you can spend 1 minute crafting camouflage for yourself. You must have fresh mud, dirt, plants, soot, etc., other naturally occurring materials with which to create said camouflage. And once you are camouflaged in this way, you can try and hide by pressing yourself up against a solid surface, such as a tree or a wall, that is at least as tall and wide as you are. You gain a +10 bonus to dexterity stealth checks, as long as you remain there without moving or taking actions. Once you move or take a reaction, you must camouflage yourself again to gain the benefit. It's always these stealth ones that give you the weird +10 benefit that's not advantage or something, and is a physical modifier that we rarely see. But it's a cool stealth ability, and honestly helps tie Vex with Vax a bit more. I don't remember if she ever actually uses the ability though. Okay, so now on to Pathfinder. We initially made Grog as an orc, as Goliaths are not in Pathfinder. Then Pathfinder came out with the Jotunborn, so we did a video about looking at how that would work for Grog. You can check that out here. And while you're away from the top of the video, maybe subscribe and like, and there's like a hype button as well. Click that too, I guess. I don't really know what it's supposed to do, I can guess, but you know YouTube, they keep implementing new stuff. So yeah. Stuff to do if you'd be so kind. Thank you very much. Now, whilst lore-wise these two ancestries are not the same, the Goliath tribes are closer to warbands and orcs than the world-creating Jotunborn, but comments in the video pointed to a number of ancestry feats that help Jotunborn with melee and fist attacks, which Grog will start to use in a few levels' time when he gets a certain weapon, and him being large inside allows Pike to ride on his back, rules as written, which is like we see a lot in the show. Jotunborn, though, have the following ancestry line in case you did miss the video: 10 hit points, size is large, speed 25 feet, boosts to strength, wisdom, and a free one for ability boosts, and a floor to charisma, and languages common to Jotun, and then additional ones plus intelligence modifier, so don't worry about that for Grog. Special, they have low light vision, not dark vision like the Orc did, and special, Evelar Weaving, which is planar thread produced by creatures called Evelars woven into your skin. It glows with a dim light in a 10-foot emanation, and you can sustain it to extinguish, reactivate, or adjust the coloration. So it's not too different apart from size and the vision. We can probably keep the same ability boost as we had before. We have a floor here, but we don't have to take that, and we can still take our penalty to intelligence rather than charisma, I think. Our Winter Orc heritage has been replaced by Warrior Jotun, which is your hardier body makes you a perfect recruit for combat. The damage die for your fist increases to 1d6, and you don't take a penalty when making a lethal attack with your fist. And Orcrosity becomes Jotunborn Grappler. Wrestling is a common pastime for Jotunborn, and you've done your fair share. You're trained in athletics, or something else, you've already got it, and you also gain the Titan Wrestler skill feat. Both of these make a lot of sense for how much fisticuffs and actual wrestling we see Grog do even outside of actual proper battles. 5th level ancestry has become Pounding Leap, which is 2 actions, and is a warrior Jotunborn heritage ancestry feat. You can use the momentum of your massive fists to launch you through the air, kind of Hulk style. Strike with your fist unarmed attack and then attempt a high or long jump. You can just have having a running start and you're not to stride before this to avoid failure. You can attempt this strike against an unattended object or unoccupied flat surface, and you gain a +2 bonus to your athletics check to jump high or jump long when you do so. Just a fun one for a big dramatic leap. Again, it feels very rageful Grog charging across the battlefield, or jumping I suppose. And at level 9 we get Jotun's Boost, which requires you to have at least one hand free and be adjacent to an ally, and has the Manipulate trait. It costs 2 actions as well. Your Giant Might allows you to pick up one of your allies and hurl them across your battlefield. You can see where we're going with this. Pick up an adjacent ally who is willing to be yeeted and is smaller than you, and toss them to an unoccupied space you can see within 25 feet. If you have 2 hands free, you can instead toss them to a space within 30 feet. Your ally's movement does not trigger reactions, and they end the movement on their feet and don't take damage from the fall. If your ally ends its movement within melee reach of one enemy, they can make a melee strike against an enemy within reach as their reaction. Again, both of these feel very in character for Grog's battles and raging, and throwing Pike into combat. Okay, properly onto Pathfinder level 10 now. Everyone gets ability score increases. The way this works in Pathfinder is the same as it did at level 5. You just choose 4 things to increase by 1. If you're going from level 4 to level 5, that's 4.5, and then when you do it again, it will become 5. You can't double up, it's only 1 at a time. Remember, there's not 2 numbers here, it's just purely the modifier. Grog's strength we've upped all the way to 5 now, and con is halfway to 5. We've given him a little bit more dex, so that's now +3 to increase his AC, and a little bit more wisdom to help with initiative and will saves. This puts all of our Pathfinder scores ahead of his 5e ones now, apart from con, which is still matched. AC is up to 26, +21 for fortitude saves, +18 for reflex, and +16 for will. 180 hit points. Every other score has gone up by 1 as well, as each level does that, plus anything strength, dex or wisdom, another 1 as we've increased those scores, so keep that in mind for any of the other characters as well. This also means Grog's perception is now +15, or for initiative specifically +17 because of his +2 from incredible initiative. And then it's an even level, so we have a class feat and a skill feat across the board for most people. We chose Furious Sprint, which is our Rage Barbarian class feat. You rush forward, stride up to 5 times, or 8 times if you use 3 actions. All this movement must be in a straight line, though generally allow reasonable variance, and you can replace these strides with balance if you need to, and then you have to attempt an athletics check instead of an acrobatics check using the same DC. I find a lot of the battles Grog is running all over the place, from enemy to enemy, because they are much faster or they're flying around the battlefield, and also to go and heal people. So giving lots of speed like this makes a lot of sense and is very cool. And then skill feat we've given him Battle Cry, which requires you to be a master in intimidation, which he now is. When you roll initiative, you yell a mighty battle cry and demoralize an observed foe as a free action. If you're legendary intimidation, you can use a reaction to demoralize your foe when you could succeed on an attack roll. We're not quite there yet, but it's another intimidation thing. And Grog has a +18 to intimidation, which is technically better than Scanlan's at this level, so, it's likely to be reasonably effective. On to Keyleth. We've done stat boosts to strength, con, wisdom, and dexterity. So that's +3 now for con, strength, and dex, and +6 for wisdom. Wisdom is now matched, as is intelligence. Everything else is a little higher in Pathfinder. AC 27, +18 to fortitude and to reflex saves, +21 to will saves, and 118 hit points, +20 perception. And for her feats, we've taken Thunderclap spell, which is 1 action, prerequisite, Stormwater. Your lightning splits the air, generating a booming shockwave. If your next action is to cast a spell with the electricity trait, or deals electricity damage, has no duration and requires each creature to attempt a saving throw, the force of the spell's lightning creates a thunderclap, in addition to its regular effects. Each creature that failed the reflex save against the spell is now also deafened for 1 round, and those who critically failed are also knocked prone. Just another fun Ereshai related thing that works and is a fun bonus for a few of her spells. For her skill feat, we've taken Influence Nature, which is a downtime skill and requires you to be a master in nature, which again, of course, she is. With patience and time, you can make bird calls, leave game trails, and ultimately influence the behaviour of a certain type of animal in the region to favour and even aid you in the days to come. The GM determines the DC of any check required and the amount of time required to do your work. It's usually at least a day or two of downtime. While you can't directly control how you've influenced nature, you can hope for certain effects, such as easier hunts or birds falling silent whenever danger is approaching. If you're legendary, you can elicit these adjustments to animal behaviour in any area by only spending 10 minutes. I think this one speaks for itself. It's just a very fun, druidy style kind of feat. And 4 extra level spell slot for Pathfinder, because we get those with our casters, but you do kind of want to actually be choosing things to go in those slots. We went with Nature's Pathway, which is uncommon, has the Concentrate, Manipulate, Mental Plant and Teleportation traits, and takes 1 minute to cast. You step into a living tree with a big trunk, or a trunk big enough for you to fit inside anyway, and instantly teleport to any tree within 5 miles as a sufficiently large trunk. Once you enter the first tree, you instantly know the rough locations of other sufficiently large trees within range to exit from, and you can also exit from the original tree if you prefer. Can't carry extra dimensional spaces with you. If you attempt to do so, the spell fails. And at 6th level, 50 miles, 8th level, 500, and 9th level anywhere on the same planet. So this is similar to Tree Stride, but it's just for you, but you also get to choose which tree you go to for free. You don't have to have prior knowledge of it. Also no bags of holding though. Trees don't like that, I guess. Alright, Percy, remember here, a gunslinger, full stop, not a fighter. We upped our con, our dex, intelligence and charisma. These scores are still a mix of higher and lower. Percy has a bunch of pretty damn good scores. We'll get up to 22 dex eventually though, but we aren't going to give him extra boost as that does start to screw with the math. I know we did with Keyleth, but don't worry about it. AC for him is 27, plus 16 fortitude and 19 reflex and plus 15 will, 108 hit points. Initiative with perception is now plus 19. Our boosted intelligence also means we have another skill, so we've taken intimidation for something that will start happening in a couple of levels' time. For feats, his gunslinger feat, we've taken Called Shot, what do you know, which costs 2 actions and has the Flourish trait, which means you can only do it once per round. It's 2 actions though, so it's unlikely you're going to do it twice anyway. You target a specific area of a foe's anatomy for a debilitating effect. You declare a part of the foe's anatomy to target to make a ranged weapon strike. If you hit and deal damage, the target takes one of the following effects based on the body part target you damaged. The GM should use the stated effects as a guideline when attacking creatures with strange anatomy, for instance, applying the arms effect to creatures with tentacles if those are what the creature uses to attack. If it's arms, they become enfeebled 2, reduces your strength to the end of your next turn, and on a crit, it's enfeebled for 1 minute. With the head, stupefied 2 until next turn, that affects spells and makes concentrating harder, and on a crit, stupefied for 1 minute, but stupefied 1. The legs reduces their speed by 10 foot until the end of your next turn, on a crit, it's minus 5 foot for a minute. No, this is in addition to the initial effects, so it's 2 or minus 10, and then it's 1 or minus 5 for the following 9 rounds. And if they have wings, it immediately falls 20 feet, or 40 on a crit. The fall is gradual enough that if they hit the ground, though, they take no damage. So it's not trick shots, but it's pretty similar to trick shots. 5e Gunslinger is based on the same framework as the 2e Gunslinger in many ways, so that checks out. And then for our skill, Contract Negotiator, which is prerequisite trained in legal law. You are experienced with bargaining and deciding terms as part of High Helm's guilds. Obviously, we've not got this specific part of the law, just from being Percy and from studying in Whitestone, I suppose. It helps you make deals in other situations. When negotiating deals or agreements, you can use legal law in place of diplomacy to make an impression or a request, even if there is no legal framework under which you are negotiating. If you are an expert in diplomacy, you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to these checks, and if you are a master in diplomacy, you gain +2 and +3 if you're a legendary. We've heard Percy is the lawyer sort of the group, so this is a fun way to add to that. He's also pretty good at diplomacy, so he'll end up getting some of those additional bonuses too. Alright, level 10 Pike. We've increased strength, con, wisdom, and charisma. So +3 for strength and con, +4 for charisma, and now +5 wisdom. Upping strength and con because, again, monster! And charisma too, because she's good at talking to people and being that kind of kind, motherly figure. AC is 29, 31 with her shield, that's pretty damn high. +18 fortitude, +13 reflex is low, +22 will saves. 118 hit points as well, and +19 for perception / initiative. Her class feat is another uncommon one, it's Holy Light. It has the champion and cleric traits, as well as concentrate, divine, evocation, and light, and costs 2 actions and requires you to follow a good aligned deity, which Serenray is. You raise your arms to the sky and pray fervently, surrounding yourself with a beacon of holy light. The beacon sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius, 100-foot cylinder centered on you until the beginning of your next turn. Evil creatures in the area must succeed at a will save equal to your class DC or spell DC, whichever is higher, or become dazzled for 1 round. Sarenrae, light, Pike, yeah, you get it. It just makes sense, and it's a lot of fun and very cool, and lots of the kind of big Pike being a beacon of light and hope stuff, which also follows into one of the spells we're going to come to in a moment. But first, skill feat Pilgrim's Token. Prerequisite trained in religion and following of a specific religion. You carry a small token of protection from a site holy to your faith. You gain a wooden religious symbol for your deity for free. She's probably already got one of those, but you know, maybe she got a new one when she was help building a temple or something. As long as this religious symbol is in your possession, when you tie an adversary's initiative roll, you go first. This is good for Pike because she's often very low on initiative order. If you lose this religious symbol, you must purchase or craft a replacement and attune to it. Such a token usually costs at least 1 silver, and the attunement takes 10 minutes of prayer. You can attune to a different religious symbol with the same amount of time, but you lose the benefit of the previous one. Just a fun, unique religious feat, and again, helpful for Pike, who's usually lower on the initiative order. Obviously, that's probably going to be less of a thing here because it's based on perception most of the time and not dex, but still. And for her spell, we took Rallying Banner, which is again uncommon, and has the auditory, illusion, and visual traits. It's got a range of 30 foot, targets 1 willing creature, and duration is 1 minute. You create an illusory banner representing a revolution, social movement, or organization such as the Firebrands, or I would say, you know, the Rolos. This banner is 30 foot tall, 30 foot wide, and hovers 20 feet in the air above the target. The banner is surrounded by flashing colours, bursting fireworks, and the sound of cheering crowds which draw attention and make it clear and obvious that the target is the bearer of the banner. Your allies and any members of the banner's associated group who are within 200 feet and can see and hear the banner are inspired by its presence. They get a +1 status bonus to attack rolls and a +1 status bonus to saves against fear, emotion effects that would inflict despair, and effects that would impose the confused or controlled condition. When the bearer of the banner would gain the fleeing condition, they can choose to stand their ground and be stunned for the effect of the duration instead. And during the duration, the target can touch a willing creature to transfer the banner to them, making them the new banner bearer. Touching a creature of this person is an action with a concentrate and manipulate traits. Again, kind of focusing on that scene with the villagers from the end of season 1 of the show, but it just feels very Pike-like again, very supportive and cheering on, and the holy beacon, but also she can deposit on somewhere else too. Scanlan next. Dex we've increased to +1, intelligence +4, wisdom +1, charisma +5. Max charisma, we've upped the intelligence to +4 and got a little bit more dex and wisdom as well. Probably not much more wisdom than this for Scanlan, he's not meant to be wise, but just a little bit here. We're head across the board now, and on par with charisma as well. 26 AC, 18 fortitude, 16 reflex, 18 will for saves, another 118 hit points. 15 for perception, so, you know, still on the lower end. And our additional intelligence allows us to choose another skill. We've gone with religion, for, you know, being around Pike and stuff. For our class feat, we've gone with the House of Imaginary Halls, which is you erect an imaginary barrier that others believe to be real, and you learn the House of Imaginary Walls composite cantrip. House of Imaginary Walls, well, it's uncommon. It's got the Bard, cantrip, composition, illusion, manipulate, and visual traits. Range of touch, duration 1 round. You mime an invisible 10 by 10 foot wall adjacent to you within reach. The wall is solid to those creatures that don't disbelieve it, even incorporeal creatures. You and your allies can voluntarily believe the wall continues to exist and treat it solid, for instance, to climb it. A creature that disbelieves the illusion is temporarily immune to your House of Imaginary Walls for 1 minute. The wall doesn't block creatures that didn't see your visual performance, nor does it block objects. The wall has AC 10, hardness equal to double the spell's rank, which is 10, and HP equal to quadruple, so this time 20. Just fun miming thing. It's very fun and silly and kind of in line with Magnificent Mansion, just invisible and not a mansion. We also took Eyes of the City as our skill feat, which requires you to be trained in either diplomacy or society. You can track down targets with the help of locals. You can use diplomacy or society, whichever you're trained in, to track creatures in settlements. You can chat with locals to help follow the trail of creatures you're trying to track, and at the GM's discretion there might not be enough people for you to follow the trail using this method. But Scanlan's been to a lot of places and he's good at talking to people and chatting and stuff, so there we go. And for him, our other spell, Forceful Hand. 2 actions, evocation and force, 60 foot range, duration sustained up to 1 minute. A medium floating disembodied hand made of magical force appears in an occupied space adjacent to you, following you across the battlefield to shield you against foes' attacks. Each time you sustain a spell, the hand moves to an occupied space of your choice adjacent to you, and when you sustain a spell, you can have the hand fly to an occupied space of your choice adjacent to an ally to protect that ally instead. The hand's movement does not trigger reactions based on creature movement. Creatures can move through the hand but can't end their space in the same space as it. Successful attacks against the hand do damage it, and damaging effects that can target a creature can target the hand. It has AC 25, 50 hit points, and it can't recover hit points. And if it's hit by a disintegrate spell or similar, it does get destroyed. But the hand's actions and the cover it provides depend on the actions you take on your turn. At the end of your turn, what the hand does is determined by the first entry on the list that matches a trait from any of the actions you used on your turn. For instance, if you step, stride, or sustain the spell, you use the entry for move actions, so the hand provides standard cover. If you manipulate or attack, the hand interposes between you and your foes and provides lesser cover, just +1, against all attacks that pass through the hand's square. If you move, it provides standard cover, so +2 to your bonus, to AC, reflex, and stealth checks against all attacks that pass through the square. And if you concentrate, use a concentrate trait specifically, it provides greater cover, which is +4 bonus to your AC, and to reflex saves and to stealth checks against all attacks that pass through the hand square. Pretty cool. It's kind of Big B's hand, but a defensive version rather than offensive, and can be used to help protect your allies as well, but still feels kind of in line for Scanlan. And at high levels it gets even more stuff, but that doesn't matter right now. Okay, for Vax. A rogue. So we've got another skill. We've taken survival, learning from Keyleth and from his sister, and for ability boosts, we've increased wisdom to +3, dex is now +5, intelligence +4, charisma +3. So up to 5. So that's high dex now, and then we've boosted the other ones as well. Strength is still going to be behind, but the rest are now on par or ahead of our 5e counterpart. We've also added nature as another skill because of increasing intelligence, again for spending time with Keyleth and also still his sister as well. More on that in a couple of levels. AC of 28 for him, 15 fortitude saves, 22 reflex saves, 18 will saves, 88 hit points. He's a squishy boy. 21 initiative with that perception, 15 skills too at this point, so there's a lot. Feats, we've gone with Sneak Adept, requiring you to be a master in stealth. It's almost impossible to spot you. Even when you roll a failure on a sneak action, you gain a success instead, but you can still critically fail. He's great at stealth, there we go. And another skill, Kip Up. It's a free action, prerequisite, master in acrobatics. You stand up and the movement doesn't trigger reactions. Rogues get loads of skill feats, so we can do a bunch of these, and this can be very helpful to get out of tight situations, especially with his limited hit points, because usually getting up from prone triggers reactions. Okay, finally we get to Vex. Upping her dex as well to +5, intelligence as well to +3, charisma to +4, wisdom to +4. Again, high dex now and upping wisdom, intelligence, charisma, all classic Vex stuff. Ahead or equal to all of the 5e stats now. AC is also 28, fortitude saves 15, reflex 22, 19 for will saves, 108 hit points, 22 perception initiative. And we have a new skill, crafting, more on that in a sec. For class feats, it's trinket time again. Prerequisite is having mature animal companion, which we do. This is now incredible companion. Your animal companion continues to grow and develop. It becomes nimble or savage, or your choice, and gains additional capabilities determined by the type of companion. So, Trinket is now a savage companion. Get ready for this. Including the heavy barding, they now have AC 28 and 108 hit points. Same as Vex. Their attacks hit on +18, which is slightly lower, but jaws are 2d8 +9 piercing, and claws are 2d6 +9 piercing, slashing even. +18 to fortitude saves, +17 to wolf saves, +17 perception, and +18 reflex. Strength +6, con +4, wisdom +3, dex +4, intelligence -4, charisma +0. Speed is 30 feet, size is large. They have low light vision and imprecise scent in 30 feet. They still have their support benefit, but the damage is now increased because they're savage to 2d8, and they also have Bear Hug, which is one action and requirements the bear's last action was a successful claw strike. The bear makes another claw strike against the same target. If this strike hits, the target is also grabbed, as if the bear had successfully grabbed the target. His claw strikes are agile, so there's a +14 follow-up, which is not bad. So pretty awesome, and pretty much on par with Vex in terms of AC and hit points and stuff, which is how animal companions should be. Okay, last thing now, as there are no spells by default for rangers, snare crafting, the skill feat. Requires you to be trained in crafting, which we now are. You can use the craft activity to create snares. When you select the feat, you can immediately add the formula for 4 common first level snares to your book. So we've added alarm snare, spike snare, caltrop snare, and hampering snare. You can figure out, well, all of those do, I'm pretty sure. The alarm is an alarming one, the cow chop is stuff on the floor, the spikes is a different style of damaging one, and hampering prevents movement and slows people down and stuff. I might throw them up on the screen, but you know, you get the general idea and you can search it up if you so wish yourself. This again just feels like another thing that Vex could do as a ranger, making these snares, and it could potentially be useful in combats where they are planning ahead a bit more. And that's that, level 10 done. It's a bit more happening here, some interesting feats and enhancements. Next level is going to be, on the whole, maybe kind of faster, maybe slower, I'm not entirely sure, because we're not going to deal with ASIs then. But next time is actually going to be the level 10 combat, so we're going to have a look at what combats they get up to between level 10 and level 11. Obviously the Kavan fight will be a big one, but that might be maybe too many moving parts. We'll have to wait and see. So look forward to that. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd have chosen any different feats or ASIs or things like that, let me know down in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.